Welcome to a More Beautiful World podcast with Susan Renee, a place for those of us with the desire to expand our consciousness, tap into higher vibrations of love, and to connect into a community where together we can make the world a more beautiful place. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned on my journey in discovering how we're all connected and how what we do for one, we do for us all. Here, I'll be sharing my own experiences, knowledge, and expertise for how you can heal, transform, and ascend your being so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello and welcome everyone to another episode of A More Beautiful World. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to be gentle with yourself and how that is actually going to cultivate strength and help you love yourself more deeply. So we're going to explore gentleness today, and more specifically, we're going to talk through how you can be more gentle with yourself to cultivate this deep inner resilience and this deep inner strength. So often, I think our society sees gentle as weak, or, being gentle with yourself as a waste of time, or it's a lost cause. And that simply isn't true. The opposite of gentle is strength. And not only does gentleness cultivate strength when you practice it, it also does help you grow and deepen your self-love. Today, we are going to explore what it means to be gentle, what it looks like when you're not being gentle with yourself, and also ways that you can honor bringing in more gentle and loving energy into your life so you can cultivate that deep inner strength and resilience. And of course, cultivate more self-love, because that's what it's all about, so we can make it a more beautiful world. With that, if you are ready to stop feeling, so burnt out and so emotionally drained, and you're ready to tap into these deeper levels of strength and self-love as you navigate your healing and transformation journey, then this episode is going to be for you. So as I mentioned in the intro, gentleness is the opposite of strength. And it's interesting with this bit of duality we have here with gentleness and strength, that I think so often it's overlooked that, in order to be strong, we actually need to exercise that gentle muscle as well. There is so often, as we're on the journey of self-growth and healing and transformation, there is this incessant need and desire to push and to force and to, always be on, always be doing. And that can also be destructive if there's not balance between, being gentle and then, having some doing cultivated in there. And, at the time of this recording, which probably also at the time you're listening to this podcast, the collective is in some challenging times as our planet is awakening and as we are ascending, as beings. There is a deep call for there to be more kindness, more gentleness, more loving energy. And in order to bring that into our outer world, we must first cultivate it in our inner world. And, with the goal of ultimately making this a more beautiful world, that does begin with us. So I want to talk today about how in these challenging times we can bring in, more kindness, more gentle, loving energy to ourselves and bring that into our inner world so it can be reflected in our outer world. So let's kick off and just talk a little bit about what is the opposite of gentleness. What does that look and feel like? Because I think this is where a lot of us are struggling right now. And these are some pain points that I know you are feeling out there. So if you haven't been being gentle and honoring, the more gentle, loving, kind energy for yourself, you might be feeling a lot of fatigue. Or fatigue might be the name of the game on most of your days. You might feel really burnt out. Maybe like you've been burning the candle at both ends and you're, really struggling to have the energy to get the things done that you need to do. You might also be feeling very emotionally drained, right? And just feeling that depleted, that depleted heart energy is a big sign that there hasn't been a lot of gentle in your being. Another big one that I see, with clients, and I'll be honest, it can show up with myself too when I'm not being gentle, is the negative self-talk. A lot of us that are on our journey to self-love, there's a big inner critic. We're all our own worst critics. And that negative self-talk that comes in, you're not doing enough, you're not trying hard enough. All of that negative self-talk really does come from this underlying belief system of I am not enough, right? I need to do more. I need to be more because I am not enough. Well, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that is simply not true. But all of the programs that we have playing, we have to do work to rewrite them, right? And to let go of that old self-limiting belief system of I am not enough and cultivate our knowing of I am enough. And we can do that by bringing in more gentle, loving energy. So, to get us away from that I am not enough belief system and to get away from the negative self-talk and to, step out of this constant energy of I need to do more, I need to be more, creating all this fatigue and burnout and emotional drain, we need to bring in some gentleness. So again, on the journey to self-love, being gentle with yourself is one of the best things that you can do. And I want to talk about, what we can do to really bring in that energy of gentleness into our lives and how we can use that to gain this inner strength, to gain and build our resilience, and also to grow and cultivate, our self-love more deeply. So before we dive into that, there are 2 episodes that I've recorded that would pair very nicely with this one. So after you listen to this one, if you haven't, or maybe if you just need a refresher on the episodes about expanding your awareness and honoring your energy, I would highly recommend checking out those episodes because I think in the essence of bringing in more gentleness and bringing in more loving energy into our lives, we do have to have some self-awareness going on. And this is about having that awareness so we can honor our energy. Okay, so those are 2 big foundational pieces to this puzzle of cultivating gentleness. So if you haven't already, or it's been a while, I highly recommend checking out those episodes as well. But as we talk about, this gentle concept, I think it's important to remember being gentle is not about giving up. Okay, it's not about being lazy. It really is about having this expanded awareness of what you need in the moment, where you are at on your journey, and honoring your energy as it shows up. Because there are days when we do have the energy to do, right? We have the energy to create. We have the energy to go out and play and be social. And sometimes we don't. And that is okay. And having, again, that expanded awareness and knowing where your energy is so important because I think that leads us into accepting where we are right now. And honoring, again, the need to be gentle because that is going to show up. Just like we need to sleep at night and we need to rest, right? We can't always, be on and burning the candle at both ends and working 60-hour work weeks and, still being social and still taking care of other people and sacrificing our own self-care and our own needs. And one more part of that I feel is very worth mentioning is in accepting where you are right now, and in looking at cultivating this, more gentle energy. I think there's an important concept of unconditional love versus conditional love. to look at for yourself. And this goes into our self-love theme. And if right now you don't love yourself, maybe you don't love yourself fully, maybe there's a loud inner critic, and maybe one of your goals is to lose weight, right? If you are placing the condition on yourself that you are not going to love yourself until you lose those 15 or 20 pounds or whatever, you are loving yourself very conditionally. You are setting conditions for your happiness, for your self-love, right? And that usually cultivates a very non-gentle energy. There's a lot of negative self-talk, right? And a lack of self-love that comes with that. So when we shift it into unconditional love and accepting yourself wherever you are right now, and again, having this awareness of like, I have been doing a lot. I'm proud of what I've been doing. And I do need to be gentle and have my time for rest. That awareness and shifting into this unconditional love space, again, of accepting where you are and surrendering to the need to rest and to be gentle, is a big part of the game. So before we start talking about what gentle really looks like and how you can, bring in some practices and really expand your awareness on knowing whether or not you need to bring in some gentleness, I want to start out with an example. Which is a little bit of the inspiration of this podcast. So I have been doing a lot of yoga lately as I've been moving through, my own journey. That's been what's calling to me. And one of my favorite classes lately has been gentle yoga. And there is an instructor in gentle yoga who I just absolutely love because she doesn't come in with an agenda. She has some idea. She's been practicing yoga for a very long time. So she knows how to run a class, but she doesn't come in with an exact plan because she actually comes in and reads the energy of the room and encourages us to honor our inner world and to really go within and honor what we need in that day in class. And she shares if it's a day where you just need to lay out in corpse pose, lay out in shavasana, to do it. And if you need more movement than what she's guiding us to do, you can do that as well. And she invites in and invokes in this energy of gentleness in honoring whatever it is you need. She says your mat is a safe place. And in that safe place, you can do whatever it is you need to do. Because everyone is different. We're all at different points. And so to expect in a yoga class, especially a gentle yoga class, right, that everyone's going to be doing the same movements and having the same breath at the exact same time, it's pretty unrealistic. Right? If you're really honoring, the energy of yoga and the energy of your students, right? You need to have that fluidity and have that gentleness come in. So, everyone is different, right? And we're all at different points. And so a big part of that is giving up that comparison mentality because it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. And in that gentle yoga class, there are people laid out the whole time, and that's okay, right? There are people doing more wild movements and bringing in a lot more, a lot more of the postures into their practice, and that's okay too. And there are some moments where I'm just on my mat getting a little weird, and it's like, ooh, my hip needs this movement, or, my shoulder really needs this rotation right now, or I just need to lay out and just be and just breathe for a little bit. And all of that is okay. So, as we start talking about gentleness, I want you to think about honoring what you need for you. And if there is a call, to slow down, right? To maybe get a little weird, get a little funky, do something outside of what you normally would do because that's what feels good right now. That is the essence of being gentle. And again, remember, gentle, is kind of the opposite of strength. And with that duality, as you are bringing in this gentle, loving nature, you're actually growing and cultivating your strength too. So what does gentle look like? And how do you know if you need more gentleness in your life? I think with those questions, one of the first things I'll say is kind of what we talked about a bit earlier in this podcast. If you are feeling emotionally drained, if you are catching yourself in a lot of negative self-talk, if you are feeling burnt out, if fatigue tends to be your energy or a lack of energy most of the time, I would say you are in need of some more gentleness. And a good question to ask yourself in this as you're trying to sift through and expand your awareness of what do you need, and do you need this more gentle energy? I think a good question to ask is, are you operating and making choices out of fear or out of love? And specifically out of fear of not being enough or out of love for yourself. And once you can start to put that lens on some of the things you're doing, that can be very insightful. That can help you tap into your energy, expand your awareness, and be able to honor what it is that you need. So with that, let's just remind ourselves again, gentleness is not a lost cause. It is not a waste of time. It is not being weak. Because gentle can cultivate strength. It is important. And so let's talk about a few things we can bring in to be more gentle with ourselves. I think a big one that could often be overlooked is to be honest with yourself. If you've been hitting the gym a lot and your body is tired and fatigued and, your muscles are sore, and you're looking at, your 5:30 Pilates class that you feel like you have to go to because you've got fitness goals, right? If you are honest with yourself and you feel into your body and your body is tired, then it's tired. Right? Be honest and don't overlook it of it's just, it's just because I need to go move. Or, a lot of times that's an intuitive guidance, is this level of honesty and knowing where we're at energetically. But be honest, don't pull the wool over your own eyes. Don't tell yourself lies, right? Being honest with yourself is a way that you do truly honor your energy. It's a way that you do tap into your awareness. So being honest with yourself and with others, let's be honest. Let's be honest about honesty. If you have plans with folks and you're not feeling good, or you are feeling tired and you need a night in, maybe you just need an early bedtime and you don't want to go out and be social. Being honest with others, being honest with yourself is so important in being gentle and honoring that gentleness. And kind of paired with that, I think another practice to bring in here is acceptance. The other day, I had a lot of plans to, go out and see a friend and spend some time out in nature, and then to go out to dinner with another friend. And when I was starting the day, I was tired. I had a weird night of sleep and I had a lot of work on my plate, and I had some personal things going on that were, causing me a bit of anxiety and overwhelm and worry, and my energy just wasn't right. And I accepted that and I canceled plans. And I took a rain check. I of course still want to see my friends, and I of course still want to go out and do things. But I accepted the fact that it wasn't the right day for it. And again, that's okay. That's just absolutely okay. That was me being gentle with myself and not pushing myself to do things that didn't feel in alignment, and just accepting where I was at for the day, accepting my energy for the day. And it's all okay. As long as you are honoring your energy, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. It's what you think about you. So, in being gentle, I think a big part of this is making time for self-care. And in the gentle nature, our self-care is always going to look a little bit different depending on what we're going through and where we're at. Being gentle with self-care could just look like resting, getting more sleep. Hey, laying down and watching Netflix, maybe doing some binge watching, that has a place. Don't recommend you do that all day, every day. But there are some days where that feels good, right? Maybe your self-care is a gentle yoga class. Maybe it's, going out into nature, getting in some solo time out in the beautiful Pachamama energy. Maybe it's enjoying a nice cozy cup of calming herbal tea at night and going to bed early. Maybe it's reading a book. Self-care, there's so many self-care practices. And if you need some ideas for self-care, go below in the description, grab my free self-care guide if you haven't already, because again, in this nature of being gentle, so we can cultivate our strength, the name of the game is self-care. So making time for that in your life is so important. Another big part of being gentle is, self-compassion. And a lot of what we've talked about is wrapped up into self-compassion, but the specific piece I want to speak to here about self-compassion is speaking kindly to yourself. Again, I mentioned earlier what is not gentle, right? And what does non-gentleness look like? And a big part of that can be negative self-talk. So to shift away from that into a more gentle, loving energy, speaking kindly to yourself is everything. And right, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. But catching yourself in the moment where maybe you are being a little hard on yourself. Maybe you aren't doing a good job of looking at all you've already accomplished, and all those gym classes you've already, gone to, and all the progress you've already made on your physical health. There's a lot of negative self-talk that can happen, especially if you're looking to, grow and heal and transform. So catch that in the moment, have that awareness around it and shift it to be more kind, celebrate your victories and speak kindly to yourself and be gentle in your words with yourself. If you didn't listen to the previous episode, your words are powerful containers and you get to choose what energy they carry. So speak kindly, speak gently, speak lovingly. Cultivate that self-compassion. Bring in that gentle energy for yourself. I think another big practice that I want to bring in here, and maybe these aren't specifically practices, but they're good tools, I guess, to say in being gentle, is to let your heart guide you. Follow your heart more. Listen to the intuition that you have, which really is coming from your heart space. And create space to do so. Maybe it's in, still moments out in nature. Maybe it's bringing in, a few minutes of meditation into your day. Maybe it's just sitting and just taking a couple deep breaths and placing your hand over your heart. But a lot of times, if we can slow down and we can tune into our hearts, tap into our intuition and create a quiet moment, you're going to be told what you need. And that's a very gentle, loving thing you can do for yourself. And whatever shows up, honoring that, again, is about being gentle, right? Even if, you tap in and, hey, maybe you do need to go for a run. Maybe there is a little more, active energy that comes out of that. And that's okay too. But oftentimes we're not creating the space to slow down, to tap into our heart energy. So creating that space and listening to your heart, listening to your intuition and letting it guide you can be a beautiful way to bring in more gentleness. Another tool, I'd say, in cultivating gentleness is to invite in some play. We can get super tightly wound and just be so focused on all the doing and, the heavy things in life that we can forget about doing what we enjoy the most, right? And tapping into our joy in living and playing and receiving pleasure and doing things that bring in that play and that joy, right? So carving out time for play can be a beautiful, gentle practice for yourself as well. Maybe your play, looks like creating art, or maybe your play is, actually playing with a kid, a child that you have, and a nephew and niece, right? Or it's just maybe doing what you enjoy the most. Maybe it's going for a bike ride, or playing tennis, or going for a hike. Like whatever your play is, make time for it. Because that can be a very gentle, loving thing you can do for yourself as well. I think a big concept in gentleness that I want to make sure we touch on today is also forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge part of a healing and transformation journey, because we self-shame so often, and we blame, and we, hold grudges against ourselves and against others. And forgiveness is a beautiful, gentle energy to lighten the load, to help us let go of what no longer serves us. So if there's self-forgiveness you need to work on, or forgiveness for others, it is a beautiful higher vibration energy that is a very gentle, loving energy. So a good one to bring in and to practice as well. If you need some guidance on forgiveness, I love the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer for forgiveness for both yourself and others. So you can, message me or look that up on YouTube or whatever you'd like. But it's a beautiful way to practice forgiveness and to bring that in to cultivate this gentleness. I think one of the last things I'll say about gentleness here and what you can do to bring in some more gentle energy is to disconnect. There's so much power in disconnecting to actually reconnect. And when I say disconnect, I mean turn off your phone for a little bit, just set it down, put it in airplane mode, leave it behind for a little bit. Go out into Mother Nature, right? Disconnect from the computer, from the phone, go get grounded out in Mother Nature and enjoy some alone time. Disconnect from the energy of others. Get comfortable with your alone time. That is a very beautiful, loving way to kind of disconnect from all of the energetic cords that you have on you, your work, your clients, your family, your loved ones. Like there's a lot of energetic cords that we have, and to just disconnect, even if it's, 20, 30 minutes. I'm not saying you have to, take off for a month. I mean, if that's what calls you, do that too. But it can be little moments that can have big wins in the gentle space. And with all of this, and with all of these little tools that you can bring in, to cultivate more gentleness, I want you to acknowledge and to trust that you are always doing your best. If you set this intention to bring in more gentle energy and you say, I'm going to do my best with it, trust that. Trust that you are doing your best. And a big part with that is your best is always going to look different. And that's okay. Every day I always, set the intention to show up and do my best. And some days it looks very different than others. And that's okay. Again, that's a beautiful, gentle practice just in itself. If you take nothing else from this podcast, tell yourself, I'm going to do my best every day. And that best is always going to be different. And that's okay. It's a very gentle, loving thing to say to yourself, and a beautiful, kind, loving energy to bring into your journey as well. So I hope these tools, these practices, these ideas are expanding your awareness. And in the name of self-love, my friends, cultivate this gentleness with yourself. Tap into this connection to this self-compassion. Right? And this gentle, loving nature, this unconditional love for yourself. Because this is where you get to strengthen your inner world. This is what's going to build up your resilience and your strength as you navigate the outer world and go back into the outer world. Gentleness can be so recharging and so nourishing. And that is what will keep you resilient. That is what's going to really strengthen you to go out and change the world, right? And share your magic. So remember, if you want support, I'm here for you. So if you do feel you need any support, sign up for a free clarity call. And even if it's just you need some gentle space to be held for you, I want you to take advantage of that call, and I will be there to hold a very gentle, loving, kind, and supportive space for you. Ultimately, my dear tribe, as always, this is all about the mission of making our world a more beautiful place. And that does begin with our inner world. It begins with cultivating that deep self love and learning how to better love ourselves. And a big part of that is bringing in a more gentle, loving energy. And knowing that that is cultivating strength in your inner world, and it will reflect in your outer world. And as you start to love yourself, more, you're going to elevate yourself. You're going to raise your vibration, your inner world, all that love, it's going to start to reflect in the outer world. And that is how we make it a more beautiful world for us all. So that's all I have for today, tribe. And the last ask I'll have for you, if you are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a review. Reviews go a long way in making sure these messages get out to the people who need them, so more people see them. So if you like today's episode or any of the previous episodes, please go and leave the amazing 5-star review and help me make this a more beautiful world for us all. All right. Mwah. Go be gentle with yourselves. Much love to you all, tribe. Until next time. Hey, tribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this podcast, make sure to like the video below and then click subscribe so you never miss an episode. And remember, I've got lots of free resources available to you to support your healing, transformation, and ascension so you can help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Make sure you check them out in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.